Thank you for watching this Last Mile Profits video.
Will the Polish authorities put limits on locker numbers? If this interests you, take a look at the latest Last Mile Profits video. Experience the future of convenience with modern Expo parcel lockers. Cutting-edge innovations that bring parcel delivery to a fundamentally new level. Follow the link in the description to find the best solution for your business. Gary, it seems that the Polish authorities and regulator have been looking at limiting parcel lockers in Lockerland. Apparently, there have been complaints about too many cars driving up, doors slamming, even the sun reflecting from the screens in the lockers. What's your take on that?
Well, as you said, it's in Lockerland. How many lockers are there in Lockerland now? 20,000, 25,000?
Just InPost alone have about 23. So we need to check in the report. But my very top line guesstimate would be that we must be close to 50,000.
Wow. Well, I think a population of that number of anything, you're going to start to get the people starting to complain. I mean, you lived in the UK for a while, Marek. Do you remember the word NIMBY? You remember what NIMBY stands for? So NIMBY is one of these. NIMBY is one of the great British phenomenons. It's not in my backyard. So I'm really in favour of solar farms. I'm really in favour of solar farms, but I don't want one near me. I think affordable housing is a fabulous idea, but near somebody else. And I think maybe this is a little bit of locker NIMBYism that's creeping into Poland.
I think there is a positive aspect. If this could lead to the fact that you don't have 4 or 5 lockers one next to the other, because that isn't efficient or ecological or even economically smart, then it could make sense. So honestly, my view is I can't see anything happening fast. But if the government, because bear in mind, the Polish government have got an awful lot of things to worry about, cleaning up after 8 years of, should we say, populism. So I think that at the moment they've got other things to deal with. But if they really do take a step forward and say, okay, we're going to have to really take a serious look at this, I would expect, Gary, that of course they will look at this. But if you optimize by having perhaps one large open network instead of 5 or 6 suboptimal closed networks, then you achieve some of those goals. You'll still get the car door slamming, but hopefully people will pick up more parcels per stop, so there'll be fewer car doors slamming. There'll be fewer machines and fewer reflections of the sun from the screen. And generally speaking, there will be fewer lockers if some people consider them to be an eyesore. So, my personal view is that's where we're likely to go. But you know what, Gary? I'm not sure it's going to happen so fast. Have you got any sort of experience from the UK or other markets you operate in?
I think in the UK it's a problem we desperately would like to have, because I think it's a symptom of success in some ways, isn't it? If they become so commonplace, you start to, get that ubiquity and people start to kind of get fed up with them. It means as a locker business, you'll have succeeded, in your mission to put them pretty much everywhere. But I think you're right. There has to be a kind of cooperation with the local community as well. We all want outdoor lockers. We all want 24/7 access. We try to put them places where people can easily stop their car, quickly pick up or drop off their parcel and move on again, to make that customer experience as convenient as possible. But I think it is a good warning to think about a little bit wider about the environment where they're going. We talk often about the compensation for the host. Are they going to get money for having the locker on site? How it's good for the carrier, good for the consumer, good for the environment. But yeah, we need to think about it being good for neighbours as well. Maybe it's a timely warning.
I wonder, actually, this wouldn't include the UK, but for the rest of Europe, I wonder whether this actually isn't a topic for the EU in a clever way, not to come up with some legislation that is, really going to strangle the industry. But my issue is that I haven't seen any governments really take a serious look at coercing players to create large open networks. At the moment, it's being done by companies like yours, like Quadient, like MyFlexbox, who are actually doing it bottom up, as it were. But I've not seen, other than maybe words, any actions at central, even local government level to actually force people to do this in Europe.
Well, there's been a few actually. But they tend to be kind of like city level. So there's been 2 or 3 German cities that have said absolutely not, that we will be going to have 11 different color lockers going down the street. Everyone's going to have to adopt one, and this is how it's going to be. But you're right, it's piecemeal, it's not coordinated. And I think the the desire for interference in a free market to try and force people to use an open network isn't really there. And it depends on the market again. Like Germany, we talked about briefly there. There's a big dominant player in Germany that can easily afford their own locker network, and everybody else is trying to pick through, trying to find a way to compete with it. There are other markets that are highly fragmented that it would make no sense for, to get, to my mind, how many players do you need to get to 90% market share? If that number's approaching double digits, you've got a very highly fragmented market, and you've got potential there for candy stripe colours of lockers on the street. And I don't think anybody really wants that.
I think that it's not an easy one, and we did touch upon this before. Actually, you remember the vid we did on Deutsche Post and its so-called open network. It's not an easy one. Having said that, I've actually spoken to a few carriers. I was at Leaders in Logistics recently, and actually, I think the tide is, maybe it's not turning yet, but I can see the tide turning at some stage in the not too distant future, because I think more and more people realize that actually it's not economically smart to go it alone unless you have a dominant, strong network, as InPost does in Poland or Deutsche Post has in Germany.
And when you start seeing these stories filter into the mainstream press, where the daily newspapers are commenting on it, then that's when government starts to take interest. So far, it's in the logistics press, which can be often safely ignored if you're setting a national policy. But in the future, who knows?
So in that case, everyone, if you have a view, if you think governments should actually take over, or even the EU should take over and start regulating to avoid multiple small inefficient networks, let us know. Also, if you've liked this episode, please click subscribe and like, because it helps us keep these videos free for you. Gary, great talking. Looking forward to the next one.
See you soon.
Thanks for watching this Last Mile Profits video. For more up-to-date last mile news and analysis, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn.